This is False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, lead writer for Fansided. I'm joined today by a man who believes every song is better when you say the word "Hey Mama" in it about like 6 times. When your songs have the depth of a puddle, as long as you got a good backbeat and some good tunes, you can have a good time. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. How are you?
Just out here writing amazing lyrics like "You Are My Special." That means nothing. That means literally nothing. I'm doing good
Uh,
though. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, we are going to do Greta Van Fleet today for part of JLN and everything like that. Just it's one of Antonio's favorite bands, just because it's about as deep as Def Leppard.
That's right. That's where Antonio thrives.
I remember like there's an interview I saw before we get into this. Before that, just please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, just do whatever you can to help the show out because it's a Thursday episode, which means Cody and I are not working today, and it's going to be dumb. It's going to be awesome.
Right. And yeah, we're already off to just a banger start, recording about 20 minutes later than we meant to. So
I'm at a different venue. You're in a different time zone. This is false start. I remember they were doing like an interview with like the brothers and the other guy from like Greta Van Fleet, and they were talking about like the attractions of Frankenmuth, Michigan.
I can't imagine there's many, man. I can't imagine it.
uh, Chocolate and wine riverboat cruises. There's like a holiday world there.
Hell
Crispy,
yes.
crispy chicken dinners.
Hell yeah. Okay, you know what? I'm sold. I'm there.
I know it's like an elevated Ick if Zaxby's opened a theme park. That's what it would be.
Instead of a water slide, you just slide into a bucket of ranch.
Mr. Beast the ride.
That's right.
A bunch of Gen Alpha kids are making their dads make like a Mr. Beast burger, which is basically like just undercooked meat and cheese. That sounds
Salmonella. It's salmonella, is what it
Sal.
is.
I'm not saying the show is salmonella between two buns, but that's kind of what the playoff rankings were a little bit on Tuesday night. We obviously fall started. Let's get going with our first and 15 with every roads has its torn slash playoff Goldilocks. We made an executive decision. We're not doing playoff Goldilocks on Tuesday night. I'm working till the wee hours of the morning. Cody's doing the same thing. It just timing's not going to work.
Yeah, it's we love you guys. We'd love to, provide as much content as possible, but we got to be realistic with our livelihood and our mental health. So here we are.
Gotta protect your mental health at all costs. I'll read the 12 team playoff field, the 25. I'll read the top 25 in the playoff field, and then we'll get going with like, God, I don't even know the rest of the show.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Top five didn't change. You got Ohio State at one, Indiana two, Texas A&M three, Alabama four, Georgia five. 6 through 10, a little bit of moves. Texas Tech is up at number six. Ole Miss is at seven. Oregon's at eight for some reason. Nine is Notre Dame. 10, Texas would be the last team in.
Hmm.
11 through 15, Oklahoma, BYU, Utah for some dumb reason, Vanderbilt 14, Miami at 15, which is just blasphemy. 16 through 20, Georgia Tech, USC, Michigan, Virginia, and Louisville. A lot of crap, effectively.
Yeah,
And then to round out the top 25, Iowa, Pitt, Tennessee, which went up, South Florida, which would win the group of five, and then the Cincinnati Bearcats.
yes, sir.
But okay, before we do our simulation stuff, let's they made a mess of it a little bit here. I feel that Greg McElroy did a really good job of just saying like they painted themselves into a corner with about a few of these things that they've done, namely Utah, which is
Yeah. I mean, like you ranked Utah at 13, which I like Utah. They're not the 13th best team in the country. They don't have the 13th best resume in the country. Don't know why they did that. But now you're in a spot where you probably wanted to drop BYU quite a bit lower.
yeah,
And you can't because they won the
no,
Holy War. And it's one of those things where you're sitting there looking at it and man, it should they really did paint themselves into a corner with it because BYU is still very much alive for the college football playoff now as an at-large bid, regardless what happens in Arlington. And like what can you do? Like, there's nothing you can do about that. And like we unpacked Utah's resume, and like it's just not worthy of being in this spot. And Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know, and like they're in a tough spot. You would have hoped maybe they. I mean, it's really like it's hard to say that they painted themselves into a corner with these second rankings because they did it with the first rankings. Is when they really painted themselves in this corner.
It's like it's become like very apparent that that they did. Look, this isn't as bad as the first ever playoff rankings in the ever, which was back in what 2014, where
That was Mississippi State, wasn't it?
Mississippi State was one, I think A&M was four. And the thing that I'm talking about is the penultimate ones. You had TCU beat Iowa State something like 52-3 as the three seed, and
Yeah,
then they dropped down to six behind Ohio State and Baylor.
of course, of course. God
Uh,
Almighty.
Trayvon Boy can eat your heart out. I don't know. Gary Patterson deserved to have a playoff team at that point, but Sonny Dykes did at some point. That was cool.
That's right.
All right. Any other like larger thoughts here before we get into our playoff Goldilocks?
I think a good bit of my larger thoughts are going to be covered in playoff Goldilocks for the most part. I do think that once you get down to BYU and Utah, it gets a little wonky. I will say I have very few problems. I have one problem that we will talk about, but like I have very few problems with like the top 11 teams. Like I think that they're ordered pretty close to correct.
Yeah, like you're splitting hairs really the 10, 11, 12 range
Yeah.
for lack of a better word. It's just like whatever preference you may or may not have, but like it gets a little weird there in the middle, and then at the end they're still just kind of making it up. Like
Oh yeah.
and we'll get to that here. So too hot. Again, I think it starts with Utah at 13. It's ridiculous for as long as they're there.
Yeah, I knew you were going to talk about Utah, so I had it as my third team listed just in case like we wanted to just so I can do two and like have it there. But yeah, you're right. It's still too hot on them. They were too hot, but like you also you mentioned like what they did back in 2014. Like they're not going to do that again because that was like a PR nightmare. But at this like they're not going to backtrack what they did the first week, but like you really screwed yourself on the first week. Like that's not what you wanted to do, not the position you wanted to be end up in.
Do I think Utah is a quality team? Yes,
Yeah.
but you have them ranked 13 because you lost to two good teams, which I'm kind of like that's not what we need to be doing here. Like if we did that for a Big Ten or an SEC team, there would just be it would
Yes.
be just like raining hellfire down on us. Like if I'm trying to think like if they put Mizzou there or something, Mizzou or like Iowa, maybe not even Iowa, like Mizzou or Washington, like that would be just so dumb.
Yeah. No, 100%. It's just like it feels like they chose a, like you said, the quality losses, yes, play into it, but it also feels like they just chose a random team to put
Yeah.
in this spot. Like Utah was ahead of team before they lost, like was ahead of teams like Virginia and Louisville. And like to be clear, I think they're better than Virginia and Louisville, but like Virginia and Louisville to that point had better resumes than what Utah had.
I look at the I look at four teams kind of like directly behind them, and I'm like, you're boxing Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, and USC out, and then I guess another team I had thoughts on is Miami. I still think that's too high.
Yeah, I have Miami as my number one here, and mostly because they jumped Georgia Tech without
Yeah.
doing anything. What? Why? What are we doing? What? That doesn't make any sense. And like, I think the most like crazy thing to me is like not only did Miami not do anything, but on top of that, one of their losses got made to look worse because Louisville just lost to Cal. So what are we doing here? This doesn't make any sense.
It's like Mario Cristobal is having his eighth birthday at a roller rink.
Yeah.
And he or Carson Beck break the present or give the present away, and then they're upset that they did. And then it's like, oh, yeah, we gotta get you like a $60 piece of crap that was advertised on Nickelodeon. So we gotta get that for you again because you broke it before we even got into the parking lot.
It's just it's unbelievable. And like, the more you start to like, yes, Miami has the Notre Dame win, which like I understand is better than anything Georgia Tech has. I understand that. But like you have like it just doesn't make any sense. Like you're again, it goes back to one of my biggest gripes that I'm always going to have with the playoff ranking. And why I'm happy, like particularly with like the top five. Like I think the top five does a good job of marrying resume and eye test. Like I think that's why like when I look at the top five, I don't have too many qualms with it. But the further you get down, when you talk about them just making it up, this is a prime example. They're like using pure eye test with Miami because of the talent that they have, the players that they have. If you look at the resume, you have the win over Notre Dame and you have two bad losses. And like the more you start to unpack it, it's just, I don't understand how you get to this point. There's not consistency with whatever model, with whatever formula you're using to rank these teams. And that's how you end up with things like Miami jumping Georgia Tech without doing anything, and honestly, with their resume looking worse.
Look, Duke has a better shot of getting into Charlotte than
Yeah,
Miami. So why are we trying to put them in there as an at-large team when the ACC's only going to get their champion in there? If that, like maybe this is kind of like safeguard that we're like, oh, if Duke wins, maybe the ACC still gets a team in at-large, which it just feels like a wasted sort of ranking here, particularly with like the Louisville loss looks worse because they lost to Cal. And then what's their other loss? SMU's not anywhere on here.
yeah.
So
I don't see the Mustangs. Interesting.
what are we doing? Maybe it's like, oh, we're trying to maybe because they beat South Florida, we got to give them some credit here, but like you
Yeah.
should. So like what are we doing? I think I had like one more here. I don't know if you had another one.
I have one that I'm actually going to pair them together, but I have Oregon and Iowa. You only
Okay.
dropped Iowa one spot for the loss when you look at Iowa's resume, they don't really have a resume win at this point. Like you would have said Iowa State, but Iowa State has obviously fallen off pretty tremendously. And like yes, you played Oregon well, but like it was a close, ugly game, and that's a game you should win if you're Iowa and you didn't. And like Oregon getting the benefit of the doubt for almost losing at Iowa, like I did like I feel like these teams are like it was a good football game. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to disparage that. Like I had a good time enjoying it. It wasn't pretty, but it was a good football game. But like it feels like they're both getting credit for that game, which doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense because I don't think either of them really deserve all that much credit.
What I mean, like I read something for Dawn of the Dog because it was Georgia ties. And Joe Klatt had a top 10, which was something. It was maybe the fact that Gus Johnson just screams himself into lunacy, that like maybe this has affected Joe Klatt as well. So Joe Klatt had Georgia at 4, which I'm like, okay, but why do you have Alabama at 6? That doesn't make any sense. And
No.
then you had Oregon at 5, which I like literally fell off of my seat and laughed. And
Hmm.
like Oregon and Iowa, it's like your Big Ten is showing. He's like, I thought it was a great game. I'm like, that just looked like kind of like a bunch of mid for me in a really bad weather. I Oregon's the biggest fraud there in the top 10. I think that they're going to lose to USC potentially, maybe Washington at the end of the year with nothing left to lose, unless Jed Fish has packed up his bags and already heading back to Gainesville.
It's entirely possible. We can't rule it out. But no, I mean you're like again, I want to reiterate, like it was not like a quality brand of football being played, but in terms of the game and the entertainment value and the drama, it was a good football game to watch.
Yeah, like I'd have Iowa like 23-24, and I'd have Oregon at about like 10 is
Yeah.
probably what I would do. It's maybe like a spot or two below where they are right now.
Yeah, we just need to like shift the slider down like a little bit to like slightly lower. You know what I mean? Like that's all we need to do
And
here.
the last one I have is Tennessee at 23. Maybe this is just to elevate Alabama, Georgia, and Vanderbilt's chances of getting in. Like Tennessee, I guess Oklahoma as well because they've lost them. So it's like they've lost a lot of really good games, but
Right.
that's an 8-4 team. Like Vanderbilt's probably going to beat them potentially. And I understand that it helps the SEC in some ways here, but I'm like, this team has no shot at the playoff anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean like to some degree I had a hard time caring about the Tennessee part because like they don't have a shot. Like it's not
No.
like there's nothing that they can like even if they go and beat Vanderbilt in the season finale, it still maybe gets you up into the top 20. Like that's like as good as we're talking here.
And I'm putting this out there just not to have SEC bias, but like if you would have put the Big Ten equivalent of them in there, which is Illinois,
Hmm.
Illinois is going to probably go 9-3. Their final
Yeah.
games are a joke. Northwestern may give them a challenge. They're going to beat I don't know who the hell they're playing this week. They're going to beat Wisconsin in 2 weeks probably. But like you have the head-to-head win over USC, which
Yeah.
I think is a more compelling case to have them up there more so than Tennessee right now. Do I think Tennessee would beat Illinois head-to-head? Yeah, but
Yeah.
like their resume is better than Tennessee's.
No, that's a really good point, and a really good way to like point that out because like I think you're right. Like Illinois probably deserves to be in that spot more than they do at this point.
All right. Who's too cold? I got my puffer jacket on because it's below 60 in Atlanta.
Hell yeah, it's below 40 here this morning, so we're a little bit colder, but I got the short sleeves on, so we're ready to rock. Uh, the one team in the top 10 that I or top 10, top 11 that I do have a qualm with, and I don't know if they should be one, but I do think that switching Texas A&M and Indiana should have been the move. I think Texas A&M's too low.
Yeah,
Um,
that was my number one with the bullet too for that.
Yeah, and like you like I stood my ground on Indiana. Like I still think Indiana is one of the best teams in the country. And like, it's early November. You're gonna play games like the Penn State game. Like it's gonna happen. But at the same time, like Texas A&M hasn't played that game, or they haven't in months. And like the ugly truth about the college football playoff rankings, and it has been since its inception, it matters when you have these games, like when you have the games where you look, stumbling blocks and stuff like that. And the fact that it's not mattering right now is a little concerning because I don't know what that's going to mean for how they're willing to shake up the rankings going forward. We're going to talk about that. I have a couple scenarios for you here in a little bit, but like I I just feel like Texas A&M is getting set up to frankly get screwed because like what happens if they hold like by all accounts like well okay we have Ohio State Michigan but like by all accounts Ohio State and Indiana are going to be favored to win out the rest of the regular season, right? Make
Yeah.
it to Indianapolis. Texas A&M still has to play Texas in the season finale, regular season finale, excuse me. If they lose that game to Texas, they're going to drop into a spot that's going to make it precarious. They're going to
Yeah.
probably drop behind Texas if Texas were to get to that point and win that game. Or maybe not drop behind Texas, but like those two are going to compress. And you're going to have Texas A&M probably sitting at like I would say like the 8-9 range, somewhere in there. And let's say they're the eight seed going into the SEC championship game. Because I assume they can still lose to Texas and make the SEC championship game.
If Georgia beats
You're
Texas and
right.
Texas loses to Texas A&M, I believe Georgia would get to Atlanta. That's
Okay.
really because I think it's common opponent, and that's
Okay.
really the only thing there too. So, like, if you're saying Texas is 11-1, and we'll talk about like, well, in that situation, Georgia, Texas would be out, would be Texas would be 9-3. They'd be right on the cusp with losing to Georgia and then beating A&M.
Right.
That's one scenario because we're gonna break my brain here in a little bit.
Yeah, don't start thinking about that yet because I've got one that's literally about this. So
So like you're basically saying that Indiana and Ohio State, whatever happens in Indianapolis, they're gonna get a bye regardless of what happens. Whereas like Georgia and Alabama in that situation, like one of them will be two, the other one, like Bama would probably be four, Georgia would be 4 or 5. You're looking at A&M potentially being like 6-7, probably behind 6-7. God, I didn't mean to say that on purpose. But you'd be behind like Georgia, Alabama, and Texas Tech, probably
yeah.
Ole Miss too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like when you start to like list off all the teams, like if the committee got a wild hair up their ass and put Notre Dame at like made Notre Dame a higher seed than they probably should be, despite the head-to-head win over Texas, or yeah, despite the head-to-head win that Texas A&M has over them, um, man, you're like putting Texas A&M in danger of not hosting a first-round playoff game.
Yeah, you're looking at having them as the 9 seed with Texas being the 10. But
Yeah,
that's very much a real pop. That's then there's BYU and Oregon who may only have 1 or 2 losses between them.
right. Like I just think you're setting yourself up for Texas A&M to get screwed over, which what they've done this season does not deserve that. And like I don't feel the same about if you had dropped Indiana to 3. Like if Indiana like still goes to Indianapolis and like whether they win or lose against Ohio State, like they're probably still getting a bye if they go to Indianapolis and lose if they have a perfect regular season.
And before we get to like the next other teams that we think are too cold on, Ralph Russo had a fantastic tweet on the X pertaining to Texas A&M, Georgia Tech, and Ohio State. Zach Lentz of Rubbing the Rock shared it in the channel. A&M could make the SEC championship game without playing Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, or Vanderbilt,
Hmm.
which I think like you gotta like it's almost like you kind of gotta beat Texas because the committee is like, we don't give a damn that you beat Mizzou with Matt Zollers or LSU has hit the fan. Like LSU is still not bowl eligible yet. Like somehow that's A&M's fault.
Right. No, I mean, it's a good point, man.
Like you did all you could. You played an SEC 8-game SEC schedule. and you were able to schedule Notre Dame in the non-conference. I mean, you did your part to be able to be tabbed as bona fide with what you can control.
No, 100%. It's I mean, like you've done everything you can, and like to the point of what I was saying earlier, like when you have these close losses matters, like they haven't played a close game in God knows how long, man. Like they've just been blowing everybody out.
Yeah, Texas Tech's doing that too, but again, that's also you kind of wonder the whole strength of record and everything like that too, which is this whole other horseshoe can of worms. I can't even talk anymore. Who else do you think the committee's too cold on besides A&M?
I have another pairing, and this would be my last two, but USC and Michigan. Like I frankly, I would take USC and Michigan's resume over the ACC contingent right there. I would have them closer to the playoff because you go back to talking about painting yourself into a corner. If USC beats Oregon, are you really going to move them up like 9 spots? Because like that's kind of what you would need to do based on like resumes and rankings to get to that point.
They have the head-to-head over Michigan, don't they? Or they lose?
Yeah, no,
Did
they
they?
do, and they are right for still honoring the head to head. Like, don't get me wrong, I appreciate that greatly, but like the fact that these two are sitting at 17 and 18 when you have Georgia Tech, Miami like sitting there at 15, 16. Like, man, what these two teams don't have done in the Big Ten is a little bit more impressive than what those two teams have done in the ACC. And like, I would go Vanderbilt, USC, and Michigan. And that kind of gives you the leeway to not make like a dramatic change in the rankings. If USC, who is still very much alive to make the college football playoff, like right now it's sitting at 17, it's going to look like a very weird jump for them to get to that point. And maybe they're baking it in because USC does play Iowa this weekend. And maybe it's one of those things where they give USC that slight bump that I'm talking about now. But I think they deserve it already.
If you beat Iowa and you beat Oregon and you beat UCLA, and if Illinois wins out, Illinois will go up. I don't know if Iowa would drop out completely.
Yeah,
They might. Like, you'll be up there in that territory where I think like effectively, if you went out and you're USC, you will take Oregon's spot there
100%.
because I don't think you can put like unless the SEC cannibalizes itself, like the SEC is probably SEC is more likely to get five than right now than the AC than the Big Ten getting it four. Brains going places, but I have USC and Michigan at like just right, just barely on a cut. So like not.
So I'm smiling because one of the ways I'm going to break your brain is the SEC cannibalizing itself.
And my other that I think are too cold, my pairings of Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech. Vanderbilt's actually played a competitive schedule. They've had to face a lot of really tough teams. And I think that like, and again, they had like the third hardest schedule in the country coming in behind Florida and Oklahoma. The fact that like they're one win away from being 9-3, which at the start of the year we said like if Vanderbilt goes 9-3, they should get in.
Yeah,
And I mean, but they're 8-2 now, and you got Kentucky, and then you got Tennessee. Like Tennessee, Vanderbilt's absolutely getting in. Like I
yeah,
would,
I
venture,
agree.
I would venture to guess. And then with Georgia Tech, it's like, look, they were my team that was projected in the ACC. You've lost one game, you lost to NC State. These things happen. The fact that Miami's ahead of them is just it's wrong.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. What are we doing?
So yeah, just right for me. I had USC and Michigan. The other team I had was Oklahoma.
Okay. Yeah.
I would just like Oklahoma should be the first team out.
Yeah, again, I ended up looping a lot of pairings together, and it ended up it's pairings that played each other, this season. I have Texas and Oklahoma is just right because I enjoy I think that the fact that they respect the Red River head to head is a very good thing. Like that's what I want to see from these rankings. I don't want to see inexplicable nonsense more or less when these two teams have the same record, and Texas probably has a little bit better resume, so I have them there. Um, I have Vanderbilt as just right, just because I think that Vanderbilt is right in the position that you want to be to try to make the college football playoff. Again, like you just talked about, I have them for all the same reasons. And then I understand we talked about Utah and it kind of put a floor on where they could drop BYU. I think BYU is probably in the right spot for right now. You're still a one-loss team in the Big 12, which has been a very competitive league this year. And like, yes, you're behind Oklahoma. You're the second team out of the college football playoff. But but if you win out and there's some chaos that happens in front of you, you can still make the playoff. And I think that's the position BYU should be in. Kind of BYU and Vanderbilt kind of sitting similarly in that spot.
BYU occupies the spot of the team they beat last year, which is SMU from a year ago. Where
Yes,
like
yes.
if they go 11-1 and they get to Arlington and then they lose to like Texas Tech again,
Which I think they
you're
would, to be clear. I think Texas Tech is
yeah,
just a lot better than BYU.
you're gonna be the last team out, last team in, first team out territory potentially. Probably closer to being out, but like again, they keep shoehorning that, they keep telling you that Holy War is important, and we gotta respect that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And I don't know if we got to respect that, but we got to do a simulation here. Let's move on to our next topic here. We are doing a simulation based off the latest CFP rankings. We're going to try to figure out who's going to win the whole thing now. FPI is great, but the committee side is really what actually matters here.
Yeah.
And again, the top 10 are all the same. So Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Alabama, all getting first round buys. Georgia, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Oregon, Notre Dame, and Texas are all in. With Texas the last team in. Miami moves up to 11 because they're the projected ACC champion, which doesn't make a damn bit of sense. And then South Florida as the AAC Group of Five champion.
Yeah. Okay. I just can't get over the Miami thing. Like it is mathematically hard for them to make the college football playoff right now.
Like
Or make the ACC championship, excuse me.
every time I do this, I say like, okay, projected winner, projected runner up, and then at large. And you so your first four out would be Oklahoma, BYU, Utah, and Vanderbilt. And again, outside of Utah, I think all of those teams are still very much alive to make the playoff right now.
Yeah, to Greg McElroy's point about boxing yourself in the court, like Utah really can't make the playoff. Like all these other teams are going to have opportunities to move up. Utah really doesn't have that.
Like I'd much rather have like God, I don't even know. I'd much rather have like USC in there.
Yeah, exactly. That I think that's why I'm looking at like USC and Michigan sitting where they are, and I'm like, I think those are two more deserving teams to still be like when you look at the rankings, be quote unquote alive. They're still alive. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they don't have a chance, but like they deserve the optics of looking alive right now.
Yeah, USC is in the same category with Vanderbilt,
Yeah.
Oklahoma, and I get Texas, and I guess Miami. Like you're not getting to your conference championship. Maybe Miami you can, but you can get in as an at-large team. It's not mathematically impossible. You've got, I don't know what FPI says, but I would venture to guess all those teams are like 10 or 10 or more percent better.
No, 100%. I do, before we get into this, I do want to bring up something that I'm trying to remember who it was on the CFP rankings that brought it up. I was watching it on my phone at a Starbucks, so like the
Hell
audio wasn't the
yeah.
best. Shouts to the Los Alamos internet and phone service on Tuesday, which was just a beaut. But someone on the show said something about like if Miami were to win out and like there were to be chaos, like Texas loses both of the games that they're supposed to lose, Oklahoma loses to Alabama, yada yada yada. What would the committee do with Miami and Notre Dame? Because Miami has that head to head, and then they have the same. They would have the same record, and Miami would have the head to head. Like, would they honor that? I'm not trying to
God,
break your brain. It's just like something that they brought up that I've been thinking a lot about because like I feel like that's a factor that's not being factored in a whole lot when we have these discussions.
just very simplistically, like let's just say for the sake of argument, the four SEC teams we know are going to get in are Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M do.
Yeah.
And we'll say Vanderbilt gets in two. And they take the Texas, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt spot. I
Yeah.
would say Miami would take the Notre Dame spot.
I mean, I think they should. Like, to be clear, could not be lower on Miami at the current moment. Like, I think they are playing not a good brand of football right now. I think that they are ranked too high. But if
The
you
the
get to the
only
point, like, you have, like, you're honoring all these other head to heads, you have to honor that one too.
the one exception is if USC wins out, then they would take their spot.
Okay. And I think that would make sense too.
That's just the most logical thing that I could think of. Because again, like chalk needs to prevail, but when chalk doesn't prevail, we drive this in the ditch. So
100%.
all right, 5 through 12. So our 5-12 matchup will be South Florida going to they're going to be between the hedges in Athens. Yeah, that's not happening for the Bulls, man.
No, no, sir. Love the Bulls. And I will say one thing about USF is like all due respect to JMU, all due respect to North Texas, all due respect to San Diego State, all these other teams that still have a chance to get here. And I think Georgia's a particularly bad matchup to like use this as an example. But USF has proven that they probably have the best chance of any potential G5 representative to hold their own or make some chaos in the college football playoff. I just
Yeah,
think at Georgia's a really tough place to be able to do that.
in an absolute best case scenario, you play Georgia like Ole Miss played Georgia.
Yeah.
Byron Brown plays like Trinidad Chambliss, but you can't keep anybody off the field. And I think the fact that Alex Golesh, however we say it, it gets in our head. The fact that he's probably looking to go somewhere else,
Yeah.
again, because he hasn't been extended yet, like Jeff Brom has. That's going to hang over the Bulls' head, which I would say Georgia would win that pretty comfortably, probably. I think Josh Pate said the line's like minus 17 and a half. I think Georgia probably wins by like two multiple scores.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Your 6-11 Texas Tech versus Miami. We had this matchup earlier. We probably in the season, we probably picked Miami. I think we're probably going to go Texas Tech here in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Texas Tech, and honestly, the BYU game is a good example of why I would go Texas Tech in this one. And Carson Beck's inability to handle pressure. Texas Tech's gonna get pressure. They have an SEC caliber defensive line. Like they are going to get pressure, and I think Carson Beck would throw it like minimum 2 picks, if not four.
I think that's fair. I think the next two are really tough matchups. Number seven Ole Miss hosting number 10 Texas. I was like, Ole Miss has got this, but I think Texas has a potential upset ability here. I think in a weird way, I'm kind of leaning Texas more because I think Lane Kiffin will just kind of like this is untrodden territory for his program. Whereas I think Texas may have enough juice potentially getting there if he were to win and beat Texas A&M or get in. I think Texas might pull off the upset.
Yeah, I would go like if Texas gets to this point, which obviously would mean that they win one of the A&M or Georgia games, whichever one. And like if they were to do that, I would have to take Texas in there because like just thinking about it, honestly thinking about it, it's some weirdly in a similar way to like Oregon last year. Like one of the things I was thinking about with Oregon is how often were they tested over like the last like month of the season going into the playoff and then the Big Ten championship game. Like
Um, yeah, what we got Texas playing Ole Miss and Oregon, but it doesn't matter. It's the
no, no,
same
no, no,
series.
no, no, no. I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
like like I'm saying Ole Miss would remind me of Oregon last year because when's the
Yeah,
last important game that they played?
Georgia and you lost.
Exactly. And like that by the time we get to the college football playoff, that'll be like 2 months ago. That since you played a game of that caliber.
Look, I'm kind of the belief that Mississippi State beats Mizzou to get to achieve bowl eligibility, but if Mississippi State's 5-6,
Hmm.
uh, Mississippi State's exceptionally dangerous in that spot.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's the Egg Bowl, dude. It's one of the craziest rivalry games that we have.
I think they need to name that the Kiffin Leach Egg Bowl.
Absolutely. Please God. The
Pictures
Ki-
of
the Kiffin Leach egg. Just that's what you're getting.
they're shaking hands like Michael Scott in The Office.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever an image of them doing that, but just use some AI for good.
That's right.
And then Oregon hosting Notre Dame in Autzen. I'm not really high in either of these teams. I would prop it's in Oregon, which I think gives the Ducks an advantage, but I also think Notre Dame's just they're like they're Sherman's March to the sea, man. They're just going. They can't stop.
Yeah, I would slightly favor Notre Dame in this one. I'm gonna be honest, I don't trust either of these teams in this matchup to be like truthfully transparent, but I do think that I trust Marcus Freeman to kind of assert his team's will a little more than I do Oregon at this point.
Well, let's move Notre Dame on then. All right. So we got Georgia, Texas Tech, Texas, and Notre Dame advancing. Your Rose Bowl will be a matchup of last year's national championship with Ohio State versus Notre Dame. And
Notre
yeah,
Dame.
Ohio State just destroys them. I think Notre Dame completely runs out of gas.
Yeah, I mean, like I think this Notre Dame team is worse than they were a year ago, and I don't think Ohio State is that much worse than they were a year ago. So yeah, and we saw how that game went.
Yes. So Ohio State moves on. The Orange Bowl will be number two Indiana versus number 10 Texas. I think this is a fantastic game. I could be convinced of either team winning. I'm probably still leaning Indiana a little bit more because I think I trust Fernando more than I do Arch.
So I would go Indiana, and not necessarily like you bring up a good point about the quarterbacks, but I would go because I think that this would be a prime example of a Sark game.
Yeah.
Like we talk about Lane Kiffin and kind of like the untrodden territory. This isn't untrodden territory anymore for Kurt Signetti. Like he played a playoff game last year. Like he has been in this spot, and like because he has that experience, I feel like he might be able to coach circles around Steve Sarkisian in this game.
And I think that's fair. These matchups are really good. So it's either the Cotton Bowl or the Sugar Bowl here. I think A&M would want to take the Cotton Bowl, but they may be given the Sugar Bowl. It doesn't matter. They're playing Texas Tech. Another game that's going to go down to the wire.
It's
I
also
admit,
two teams that don't know any better. Like it's two teams that have not been in this spot.
I think in a weird way, I'm kind of leaning Texas Tech. I think they're a little more battle tested. Also, I think the fact that they've lost Arizona State and that's not a good loss. I think that A&M, you have the win over Notre Dame, and in this situation, in this bracket, this assumes you won the SEC, so
Mhm.
maybe you're undefeated in some ways. I kind of feel that like Texas Tech just has, we know how they handle when they get punched. I don't know how A&M does right now.
No, and I think that's definitely fair. This is the toughest one for me. I think that we're gonna have, and like I'm really struggling to figure like because I your points are well taken, and like I also think that Texas Tech would probably play a little freer in this game. I just think like the vibe of the program is a little bit freer than what Mike Elko and A&M have going on, and like they would also be under frankly less pressure in this spot than like A&M fans like putting a bunch of pressure on the Aggies. But having said that, my one concern with Texas Tech is still the offense. Like I think Baron Morton Salt is still like fine, but I don't think he's like I think he's like a Jag plus. Like I don't think he's special or anything like that. Texas A&M has a lot of special talent on that offense, and like I do wonder if A&M could reach a number that Texas Tech can't.
Texas A&M moves on then. I think the talent thing here. And I know I've been saying Georgia's got no chance in the Sugar Bowl versus Alabama. I think I've kind of come full circle back on this. I think Georgia might have them here potentially.
I was actually leaning the same way, so I'm a little surprised to hear you say that. I was prepared to argue with you.
I think Georgia is the one team nobody in this field wants to play.
Yeah.
They have been battle tested. It's very hard to beat a team twice. And I think, honestly, Georgia's running game is really starting to take off there with Chauncey Bowens kind of being more the Nick Chubb and Nate Frazier kind of being more the Sony Michelle.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. That's a really good call.
Glenn Schumann's defense is starting to kind of figure it out a little bit more, mostly because they've empowered CJ Allen to be the star there. I also kind of believe that Alabama has got I don't know if they have more tougher games left. I just kind of feel like this there's just something about this situation where Georgia just feels like everybody's gonna be picking against them, and I think that they're gonna be a little bit angrier
Yeah.
than what they are, and I think they might get Alabama potentially.
So it's really interesting that you bring up the run game because that's kind of where I was leaning with Georgia in this one. Is I look at this game and obviously it's a rematch and like so you have film with your guys on the field against this opponent. In that first matchup against Alabama, Georgia's offensive line was not playing particularly well. It's playing a lot better, shockingly enough, when they got all their healthy players onto the field. Crazy how
Unbelievable.
that works, I know. But they are, excuse me, they are running the ball now. And we talked about Alabama a lot. Like the one real big concern that we have about this team is the fact that they cannot run the ball. And if Georgia's run game is able to translate to facing Alabama with the improvements that the offensive line has made, then we're talking about a game where Georgia can control the action. And like, if there's one thing I think we've seen from Kalen DeBoer's Alabama over the past year and a half, when his team is not able to control the action, that's when they're at their most vulnerable. I think I can't stop like obviously different team, different quarterback, but like the one thing I can't get out of my head is the Oklahoma game last year. And like Oklahoma was a far inferior team to last year's Alabama, but their defense showed up and controlled everything that happened in that game. And like if you have an aspect that can take Alabama out of what they want to do, that's going to be problematic for them. And I don't know if they have the counter punches.
And again, like I'm just saying this right now, I could go back on this later because I know the nature of this rivalry,
Yeah.
this hammer versus nail rivalry, if you will. Alabama didn't score in the second half.
Yeah.
And Georgia should, if Taylor Taylor was not an injured freshman, Gunnar Stockton has Georgia number one. He's the Heisman favorite.
Right.
And if Mike Bobo wasn't infatuated with Cash Jones for some reason, Gunnar Stockton's the Heisman favorite. Georgia's undefeated number one. Like,
Find someone who loves you the way Mike Bobo loves Cash Jones, man. That should
and
be
also,
be part of you in the Arizona State podcast vows. I love you like Mike Bobo loves Cash Jones.
because I mean, I can't say like Chris McIntosh loves him some Luke Fickle.
That's right.
uh, the other thing is Ty Simpson's been playing at an unbelievable level for the better part of the season. Like it's been incredible to watch him just build confidence with himself. Honestly, Kalen DeBoer is a hell of an offensive mind.
Oh yeah.
Look at how much Penix has fallen off playing under the skull-effing moron that is Zach Robinson.
Brother, did you see his quote yesterday?
No.
He was basically asked like what kind of like support and help he was getting on the sidelines, and he basically said, "I don't really get a whole lot of help from the sidelines." And I was like, "What do you mean you're not getting help from the sidelines?"
He's going to take the Oklahoma State job. They may give Raheem one more year unless you lose this weekend,
Yeah.
and you just hire Mike McDaniel to be your OC.
Yeah, that would work. I promise you. Mike McDaniel is many things. He may not be a head coach, but he is a damn good offensive head coach or offensive mind, excuse me.
He's been here before, and honestly, when Raheem fails, he's just making the head coach again, and
Yeah.
it'll work out. Because yeah, I'm kind of feeling like Georgia could do this, and that means we got Georgia, Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M all advancing. Got Ohio State versus Georgia in the Peach Bowl. Ugh.
Have we been here before, Bueller? Have we been here before?
We have, and I'm not going to be biased. I think this is going to be a really rough game for Ohio State. I think there's going to be Jeremiah Smith's going to get his. Cardinal Tate's going to get his. I just don't think that there's something with Georgia at home in this situation. Like that's going to be a little bit. Though they're going to win. Georgia's going to win by like three or 4 points maybe.
No, 100%. And like obviously with the way the bracket is now, Ohio State would be projected to beat Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, but like we still don't really know what happens when Ohio State gets hit in the mouth.
Yeah.
Because like the Texas game was close and Texas has obviously proven themselves to be a quality like law or quality win for Ohio State. But let's not act like the Texas that we're seeing right now and that it's coming into Athens this week is the same one that Ohio State played in Columbus. Like, we don't know what this team looks like in terms of battle testedness.
Your second best win is what over Washington, who the committee didn't even mention once for 1 second.
Yeah, 100. Like, couldn't wait to drop them out.
I saw something. It says like Ohio's schedule's a cupcake factory.
It really is, man. Shouts to the, it's the nothing but cake. Like it's that's all it is.
And then the Fiesta Bowl, Indiana versus Texas A&M. I'm gonna smoke it through the filter here. I think this is one of those. This feels like one of those games where it just hits the fan early for Texas A&M.
Mhm.
Like it may be a game where like Marcel Reed turns it over on two of the first three drives. Indiana scores, and this is also like Indiana gets the ball at like the start of the second half, and they're kind of up by like about 10 to 14 points the entire time.
No, 100%. And kind of to the same reason why, I largely favored Indiana in their quarterfinal game. Like I think the experience factor is going to matter with Signetti. Like I think that he's gonna be able to punch in a way that Mike Elko is not ready for.
Yeah, and then we got a national championship game with the Tom Crean poll down there
That's
in
right.
South Beach with number five Georgia versus number two Indiana. As great as Indiana is, and even though I am a Georgia, depth is going to prevail here. I think that Georgia just it's close until about like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then Georgia just breaks their will with the running game.
I would say it's close the entire game, but I do agree with you. Like I think Georgia wins, but like and honestly for the same reason, like I think that their running game is just a little bit more reliable to kind of ice out a game. But like I truly think this game would be back and forth. Like I think it would not look dissimilar to Georgia Ole Miss.
Totally. So just before we kind of move on to like the next part of our show, this field is compelling in the sense that I think every team on here, with the exception of South Florida, I think is capable of getting a win. And that's just because South Florida just has a really bad matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, like how many teams on here do you feel like from this bracket or like if they're in the playoff, like can actually win it? Like I think Ohio State can. I think Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M can. And I have not quite gotten there with Indiana or Ole Miss, but like they're very, very close for me. Maybe Indiana more so than Ole Miss.
So I honestly, if I'm being real with you, like I don't like to make sweeping declarations. I think nine of these teams could win it, and excluding South Florida, Miami, which Miami has the talent to. I can't trust them at this point. I just can't trust them to get to that
Mhm.
point. And Oregon, I can't trust Oregon either. But like
Yeah,
outside of those three, like you could convince me that they won the national championship.
I think Texas would be really hard, but like if they have the talent to run the gauntlet, which I think they could do.
Well, I mean, like
Yeah,
the thing with Tech, like the reason people have been frustrated with Texas is not because, man, this roster is not very good. No, this roster is very good, and that's why people are pissed off is because you're not playing up to the talent of the roster.
not even, not even one little bit here. All right, let's let's do it. Let's break my brain.
Let's go, baby. Get your helmet out. We need it.
My thinking cap, or like this band that constricts my ability to think. Let's do it.
All right. So I have two for you. The first one is an SEC chaos scenario. So let me paint this out for you. Georgia beats Texas, but then loses clean old-fashioned hate to Georgia Tech. Texas loses that game to Georgia, obviously, but then goes on to beat Texas A&M, which that is Texas A&M's only loss. Oklahoma beats Alabama and then wins out. Alabama then wins its final two games after losing to Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt beats Tennessee. What
Okay.
order are these SEC teams in the college football? You don't have to give me the whole field. I want to know what order these SEC teams are in the college football playoff.
All right. So Texas beats Texas A&M, right?
Beats Texas A&M but loses to Georgia.
So your SEC championship game will be Alabama, Georgia in that
Mhm.
situation.
Correct.
Because Alabama would have only one conference loss, as would Georgia. Georgia's would have lost to Alabama. Alabama's would have been to Oklahoma. Okay.
Yeah,
So those two, whoever wins in that game, I would probably take Alabama in Atlanta in that situation would probably be the first number one seed.
I think that's probably right. Yeah.
If Georgia's either two or three, just I'll put them at two for now, just to kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, just okay, Texas A&M is 11-1, and their only loss is to Texas.
Yeah. Who would be at 9-3 in this scenario?
I would put them two or three. You could argue with them in Georgia depending on the outcome. I would say there's a chance that like A&M is your five seed, Georgia is like your six.
Yeah.
You'd probably have Ohio State one, Alabama two, Indiana three, Texas Tech four.
Yeah. Something like that.
Then you would have five would be A&M, six Georgia. All right, we got that figured out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
I'll,
Vanderbilt beats Tennessee.
yeah, I'll go ahead and give you a free space because with that top six, Ole Miss is probably seven because I don't have them mentioned here just because, like, even with the Egg Bowl, I think Ole Miss probably wins out.
Okay, Ole Miss is seven. So Vanderbilt wins out. We have that right.
We have Vanderbilt winning out,
We have Oklahoma winning out as well.
winning out. Yep. And Texas losing to Georgia but beating Texas A&M.
Okay, so Ole Miss is at seven, eight. You have four teams. You could conceivably get like okay, Georgia, no, Alabama, Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss are all in.
Yep. They're all in.
They're all in, and then you got to figure out okay, let's say ACC champions 11. Let's put Group of Five champion at 12. So you got to figure 8, 9, 10. Who gets in? Um, we're gonna assume Oregon just takes care of business and they get in, right?
Yeah,
So
I think
let's
so.
let's let's put them at 8. Let's put them at 8
Okay.
for for
Okay.
for the sake of simplicity. Oklahoma, Texas, and Vanderbilt are all vying for that last spot in, or the last two spots in. Vanderbilt would be your nine, Oklahoma would be your last team in.
Okay.
Texas is the first team out.
So you would not honor the head-to-head of Red River.
No, because I think Texas because you're one win better.
Okay.
I think that's the only fair way to probably do that.
I think you're probably right, but God, Texas fans would be mad online in a big, big way.
Yeah, I think that would roughly be your field, I think.
100%. Okay. So let me get you on this other one. And I only have two today, but they're two of my favorite because, like, if we were to get that kind of chaos in the SEC, like, watching fan bases lose their mind, especially for me as a non-SEC fan, like, would be just pure unbridled entertainment. Um, this would not be pure unbridled entertainment for me, but it would be objectively quite funny. Duke wins out. Miami also wins out, but there is a scenario, I believe, if Georgia Tech does not lose, that Miami can win out and Duke can win out, and Duke is the one that still goes to the SEC championship game to play Georgia Tech. And so you have a 10-2 Miami team, and you have Duke winning out, and then they win the ACC championship over Georgia Tech, so effectively eliminating Georgia Tech from the equation. Who makes the playoff? Most importantly, does Miami get in as an at-large? And does Duke rank ahead of USF, JMU, or San Diego State?
Okay, so Georgia Tech, are they 10-2 or are they 11-1?
They are going that well after the loss in the ACC championship game, they'll be 10-3.
So Georgia Tech loses. Um, Georgia Tech gets to the AC championship but loses to Georgia,
Loses
right?
to Georgia and loses to Duke in the ACC championship game.
So okay, Duke
Duke
would be
would be
nine.
8-4, 9-4 in this scenario.
So Duke wins the ACC. Georgia Tech would be 10-3 after this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, the playoff field. Let's just assume chalk everywhere else
Yeah.
because this is the only logical thing that we can do here. Your number one seed is probably going to be Ohio State.
Mhm.
Your two seed is going to be your SEC championship winner, which I would go with Alabama over Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Your three would be Indiana. Your four would be A&M, I think.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Five, six. Maybe your five is Texas Tech, Georgia six. That's about there.
Okay.
I think that makes sense. Seven, you'd probably have Ole Miss
Hmm.
there.
I think so.
Eight would be Oregon, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh God. Okay.
Also, let me add this: like USF, JMU, and San Diego State went out, win their conference championship games.
Okay,
That
so
needs to be factored in here as well.
those are your like prospective group of five champions. All
Yeah.
right. So we've got ACC winner. We don't have an ACC winner there. We have a Big Ten winner in Ohio State, SEC winner in Alabama, Big 12 winner in Texas Tech, all comfortably in. Okay, then you probably got to put Notre Dame in there, probably at nine.
But again, we talked about it.
No,
Miami's 10-2, don't have to play the ACC championship game. Could they potentially usurp Notre Dame for that spot with the head-to-head win? With the same record, to be very clear.
all right. I would put your number 11 seed South Florida,
Okay. I like that. That's what I would have as well.
and because San Diego State lost to Hawaii, I think JMU would probably get the 12 seed.
Okay, so Duke gets left out. Okay.
I think Duke gets left out. So, um, one Ohio State, two Alabama, three Indiana, four Texas A&M, five Texas Tech, six Georgia, seven Ole Miss, eight Oregon, and you got to figure out nine, 10. Um, so USC would be out because Oregon beats them. That
Mhm.
helps. That helps the equation here. Um,
It's tough, man. This
I
is
would.
not only like breaking your brain, this is a selection committee's nightmare right here.
I think nine's Vanderbilt actually.
Okay. And
I
then the
yeah,
10th
because
spot, yeah. Okay.
the 10th spot is between Miami and Notre Dame. Um, you would probably actually go Miami here
Yeah.
because I don't think the USC win's going to carry as much gravitas. Also, Miami beat USF,
Yeah.
which I
Oh
think
yeah.
that will. So Texas and Oklahoma both get left out because that'd be a third loss for both teams. Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably your playoff field.
Hell of a playoff with USF and JMU in there, and Miami somehow getting in.
And Vanderbilt, but a ratings bonanza that is.
Hell yeah, brother.
Oh
Yeah, like I
man.
said, that's the selection committee's worst nightmare scenario. I kept it to two, and I kept it kind of kind of conference centric for the most part, just for these first two, just because we still do have a lot of football left to be played, and so like if I go too in depth, like these scenarios are going to get super convoluted. And so like next week we'll have some that'll be a little bit more like pointed after we get some, because I mean, let's be real, like it's a pretty big weekend we have coming up for the college football playoff. And so like what happens will inform a lot of what's going to happen going forward.
And there's a lot of games happening this week, and there's also a few trap games. Let's move on to our next topic with the Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. Games of the week.
Hell yeah, bro. There's some good trap games too.
All right. Number three for me. Michigan laying 11 and a half points at Northwestern. That's way too
Mm,
many points. And
yeah.
I think Northwestern's bound to get like they're going to get one more win at some point. They have it in them to potentially beat Michigan. They may have to wait until the final week of the season to beat Illinois. I'm going to take Michigan to win here, but that's too many points.
Yeah, I like Michigan by 10 would be like my ceiling. Like I think
Yeah.
and I think that the point I always make about Michigan is going to prove true in this great game. Like their floor is so high that they can like I think their floor is just higher than almost as high as Northwestern's ceiling. And so like I just think that they're just going to be able to physically impose their will in this game to a degree, but like it's not going to be a runaway by any stretch of the imagination. Now, I don't have this one, but I would also take Michigan. But yeah, Michigan should be favored by 11 and a half against any team with a pulse.
I feel that. What's your number three?
I have TCU at BYU. And I think this is a position where BYU could potentially be licking its wounds a little bit. Like they got their ass kicked last week. And you're coming back home to Provo, which is obviously nice, but TCU is not a bad team. TCU may not be as good as we thought they might be early in the season, but not a bad team. Still a team that can move the ball around the yard. And I'm gonna take BYU to win this, but I think it's hairy. I think we're talking like under a touchdown win that we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's going to be something really dumb where TCU's in the red zone to score the and like Josh Hoover, whomever throws a pick, and then you got Sonny Dykes on the sideline, just like I don't know what happened.
How did we get here? Oh my God.
I'll take BYU to win, maybe them to cover. I don't have that anywhere, but that's
Sneaky good
that's
game though. I think it's going to be a sneaky one of the best games of the week. Which thank God 'cause it's on late. Now I've got to stay up and watch it. So
we'll be recording while we're watching it. It'd be great. This one, Virginia at Duke laying 6.5. That's way too many points for the Blue Devils. And because I'm currently in a UVA household, give me the Hoos to win that game.
okay, I have this. I think I have this game coming in. No, I didn't put it in JLN. Uh, somehow overlooked this game. I'm picking Duke to win this game, brother. I think that the frauds of Charlottesville, Virginia, get exposed once again. I think
Ba,
Manny.
ba, ba.
I think this is a Manny Diaz game. Like I think this is a game where he just puts Virginia and Chandler Morris, if he plays, in a blender.
Okay, I think that this will be an exciting game. It could go either direction. I'm glad that we're on the other side of the coin here. What's your number two?
I have a wild one, and you mentioned it earlier, and I kind of smirked. You mentioned this team earlier and like their schedule, and you did not mention this game, and so I kind of smirked. We're talking about pure trap games. Minnesota's on the road in Eugene this weekend,
Yeah,
and it's right, it happens to be right in the middle of the stretch for Oregon where you're going Iowa, then you go at home for Minnesota, then you play USC and you play Washington. Brother, that's the trappiest game in the world, and let me tell you, Minnesota loves a game in that spot. I think Minnesota wins this week, brother. I think that no one's talking about Oregon being in this spot. I think Minnesota wins this game.
particularly because Oregon should have lost last week. I don't have that anywhere, but I'm zipping up the sweater vest. Give me the Golden Gophers, baby.
100%. This just feels like a weird PJ Fleck game, man.
100%. In my game, and I'll be stunned if you have this up here, but then again, maybe not. Never change, Lane. Never change. Florida at Ole Miss, laying 16 and a half. This feels like a Lane Kiffin, what the hell are we doing sort of game. I would take the Rebels to win, but like it's not going to be that by that many points.
Yeah, I do not have this game anywhere. I looked at it and smiled because I remember what happened last year. I think that if Ole Miss had beat Florida last year, I would be a lot more scared of this game. But I think that the fact that they lost this game last year, I think, is going to work wonders for the motivation of this Ole Miss team. So I'm taking the Reds.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. What's your number one?
USF at Navy. Obviously USF has to take care of business if they want to be in the scenario where they're talking about being one of the top ranked conference champions. And this is the biggest test that they have left to do that besides the American Championship game. I think USF wins, but being on the road in Annapolis, it's not going to be fun weather in Annapolis in early November. You're playing a triple option team, which is going to make things difficult for your defense, which is a good defense. I think that I think USF wins because I think they have the ability to hit explosive plays that Navy doesn't. But I
That's
do think that it's going to be close.
that's I don't have this anywhere, but like I think the fact USF can like, score points and they can like beat the tar out of people without even throwing the football.
Yeah, and like I will say Navy I have a USF grad in my life I play softball with, and I saw him at the gym the other day and we were talking about this game, and he was livid because he doesn't think Blake Horvath was actually hurt for the Notre Dame game. They think he was resting. They were resting him for this game, which now that I've heard that, I'm not going to be able to think about anything but that.
They replaced Paul McCartney and Avril Lavigne, so I mean it's
That's right.
and that was our Admiral Akbar's It's a Trap Game, sponsored by nobody.
Sponsored by the Death Star.
uh Speaking of the Death Star, we're gonna go with San Antonio there to East Lansing, a place that doesn't have wins anymore.
That's right. Yeah, winning's a concept.
Okay, so with Antonio, we gotta remember where we were last year. We were at up in Corvallis. He tried to audition to be the head coach up there and it didn't take. I think they won or something, but that's okay.
I no, I'm pretty sure. I think they lost to Sam Houston. I think Sam Houston got their first win of the season.
Okay, well, Antonio was, orange is the new black. He dressed like a Jerry Glanville, but no orange. He looked like he was in prison. It was not good.
Yeah, 100%. The orange thong was out in full effect, and I was told him, I was like, brother, it's pretty cold in Corvallis. You're gonna want to like put something else on. And he said bulldog. Might have frostbite on his rubber toes. We'll see what happens. See how he's walking around East Lansing, but we got to make him wear a coat this week because East Lansing also not warm.
No, it's not. I think Antonio's at the door. I got to do real quick here. So,
Okay. Oh man. Antonio Antonio needs to come in here and explain some of his actions in Corvallis. Oh God, what did he have to say?
oh God, Antonio. Oh my
What,
God.
what did Antonio say? A door
Uh,
to door visit from Antonio is never a good thing.
dude, we're recording. There's a reason you're not allowed to be on the show, man. He went to borrow my Greta Van Fleet shirt.
Okay, I got it. I got it.
He's standing outside with in his thong. He's looking like Josh Kishka out there. Just yeah, it was not a pleasant surprise there. But yeah, Antonio really he's just proved he's never going to be a coach. And
Yeah.
I was really sad about that. And then I asked him like, well, what are you gonna do? He's like, I'm gonna take all of Jonathan Smith's wins.
There we go. Yeah, they all go to Antonio. Yeah, speaking of him never being a coach, like when he was watching Oregon State and Sam Houston, like obviously two of the worst teams in the country, like this is not a good spot for either of these programs. He found a headset, I don't know where, and he was like, I'm gonna coach, and he put it on, but he just put it around his neck. And I was like, Antonio, you gotta be able to talk to him. And he was like, I can hear just fine. And he just never took it off his neck because he said it looked cooler. That's why I wanted the Greta Van Fleet t-shirt, I'm pretty sure, so it could keep looking cooler.
Pretty much. Turns out that headset that you mentioned, it was from a drive-through at McDonald's. He just says, "Hola, okay, están, okay, bye." Doesn't
Oh,
even take their order.
see you at the window.
He doesn't bring anything up. He just gives people stuff. He calls it community service.
He serves breakfast after 10:30 too. I've seen him do it.
I mean, it's always a siesta for him. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
That's right.
Because I don't think we're going to be getting food in East Lansing for Penn State, Michigan State, and one of the saddest rivalry games you'll ever see.
100%, yeah. Sad boy season up here in East Lansing.
I believe like whoever loses this game will be mathematically eliminated from going to a bowl game. They're both 3-6.
That's tough. You hate to see it.
They haven't neither have won a conference game, so someone will.
Who do you think? Who do you think is going to win this game? And how will Antonio be involved?
I think Penn State's going to win it because I think that just the Jonathan Smith era is going to be completely erased from record. They're going to fire him and say he wasn't here. They're going to gaslight us into oblivion. Like highway to gas, burn gas.
That's
Antonio.
right.
Um,
Kind of like
yeah,
the Willie Taggart era of like Florida State. Like that never happened. Nope.
no, no. That's really been like the worst part about Antonio is he just started to gaslight people. He's just been really into that. He
Mhm.
calls it method acting. I'm like, you're just being an asshole.
That's right. Some would say that's true of most method acting, but
Dude, he tried to get you really bad, like, yeah, last night. What did he say to you when we were like getting food?
oh yeah. So we went to obviously we can't go to McDonald's because I'm pretty sure he stole the headset from there. So we went to Arby's and because Antonio of his many things, he does not have a fine palate. He loves him some Arby's. And I got the steak nuggets that are going around everywhere. And I was like, are these supposed to be black? And he goes, yes, that's how they cook steak in Spain. And I was like, that's not true. This is like charcoal that I'm trying to eat right here. And he was like, no, this is, that's how they cook it in Spain. And so I ate it. And let me tell you, that's why I was a little late to record this morning, is because I got gaslit that that's how they cook it in Spain. And that Arby's was cooking Spanish steak nuggets.
Dude, he literally thinks Arby's is a tapas restaurant.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's tried to order ceviche in the line before. Like, I don't understand.
That's something I should do for like a video with Rosemary. It's like we'll treat Arby's like a tapas restaurant.
There we go.
Honestly, it's the closest thing to fast food tapas we have, I think.
Ordering a la carte, baby.
So I don't really even know why Antonio wants to go to East Lansing right now. Jonathan Smith is packing his bags. James Franklin's gone. Th he's really just wasting our time. There's clearly some ulterior motives there why we're going to East Lansing.
I like truly, if I really had to diagnose it, I think he wants a restraining order from Andy Kotelnicki. Like, I think that's what he wants more than anything in the world right now, which that's a choice.
I think that's absolutely true. And he's really into music right now. He's also discovered Jay-Z, and he goes up
Mm.
to me, he goes H to the Izzo, V to the Izzy. And when it comes to that McDonald's headset, not guilty, y'all got to film me.
That's right. No, he does want to see Coach Izzo up there in East Lansing. It is basketball season. And Coach Izzo has been known to blow up at a player or two here or there. And Antonio really wants to try to bring out the fire in Coach Izzo.
I know I've now realized why he wants to go there.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson alma mater.
Oh, 100%. It makes sense.
We've been overlooking that this entire time. I feel so stupid.
It's his favorite magician. He's a big fan of illusions, and we've tried to tell him that Magic Johnson is not actually magic. Antonio does fancy himself a wizard, as we've learned at Potter Lake many times. But yeah, a big fan of magic, and that makes him a big fan of Magic Johnson. You know what I mean?
So he thinks actually Michigan State's the Harry Potter School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, or what's the American one like?
Oh God, I always forget the American one. I always remember Durmstrang, which is like the one that like Victor
It
Crumb and then went to.
Evil Morning. That's it.
That's right. That's 100% right. Yeah. That's what's in East Lansing.
Yeah, he refuses to accept that he got a letter. So he wrote in there in his living robe says, "You go to Hogwarts, buddy."
It's like the benchwarmers I am 12 birth certificate. I am magic.
Yeah, he thinks Magic Johnson's defensive league is the dark arts teacher. He's kind of like the if Gilderoy Lockhart was actually good at his job.
That's right. 100%. Magic Johnson. Shouts to the Perd Hapley that we have in real life, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. AI is real. Maybe that's my thought. Maybe he he unlived and AI replaced him in 95.
There we go. I think that's right. I can see that.
I mean, we've talked about replacing Paul McCartney. We've talked about replacing Avril Lavigne, Magic Johnson. I get that. You know what? Let's replace some Antonio with some Greta Van Fleet.
That's right. Yeah. Much to his
Just
chagrin as he wears the t-shirt.
just like Nova King. Also, I saw the guy that came up with the name, like found some like lady's name in a marquee, Gretna Van Fleet, and that was the ex-drummer. They got rid of him. They kept the name. They're
Love
like, you're
that.
not.
Just drop the N.
They're like what Josh, Sam, and what's the other one? Josh, Sam, and what's the guitar? Sam's bass. Sam, Josh, and whatever. One of them's like, yeah, you're not family. We're gonna get rid of you.
Let's see. We got Josh, Jake, Sam, Kiska, and
Yeah,
then Danny Wagner is the new
yeah,
drummer.
yeah. Yeah. Sam, Jake's the guitar player. Josh is the singer, and Sam plays bass. Okay, there we go. We got the
There we
figure.
go.
They're like, you're not blood. We're gonna get rid of you. Go have a crispy chicken dinner on your boating excursion in the Holiday World.
Dude, is there a more like Michigan coded like last name than Kiska?
Very very Polish, I would assume.
Yeah, like it sounds cold and Eastern European, which is what I think of when I think of a Michigan last name.
And also it's a German town with like a bunch of with
Yeah.
it's apparently it's like the Helen of like
Oh, really? Hell yeah.
yeah, it's a combination of like Asheville and Helen apparently.
Love that. Maybe I
Uh
do need to go to Frankenmuth. I love Helen. Helen's a beautiful place.
so Frankenmuth means like French speaking, but in German.
Oh
Greta
God.
Greta Van Fleet's a hell of a band here. Let's get started with our first song, Highway Tune.
Yes, sir. You Are My Midnight. That could be what Oklahoma is singing when they go to play Alabama. I've got Oklahoma, Alabama here. I think Oklahoma wins this game, though. I don't think it is their midnight. I think that Alabama is their special. I think that's the way we go here because the more I look at it, I think this is the best defense Alabama's seen all season. And I think that with their problems with the run game and asking Ty Simpson to carry the load once again, I think it's going to prove to be too much. I think this game actually ends up being kind of ugly. I think we're talking like 17-13 is what we're talking about here, but I think Oklahoma gets it done.
I had that game a little bit later.
Okay.
For me, I've got another SEC game. I got South Carolina at Texas A&M, and I have this feels like a Trans Am trap game, bro. Just you know, Shane Beamer definitely likes Greta Van Fleet too. He likes to sing all the songs, and then this song Mike Elko likes to drive his Trans Am down the road here. I'm still going to take the Aggies to win that game.
100%. Again, for Texas, this could. Oh, sorry, you haven't said the second song. I apologize.
No, yeah, you have South Carolina, Texas A&M anywhere?
I do not. Give me Texas A&M for that one.
All right, Safari Song, another song about nothing.
Yeah, I was ready to go on to this one. I have Texas and Georgia for this game because Texas, if they were to lose this game, every time that you are near, it's when you're going to fear you're never going to want to come back home because you're not going to want to show your face if you lose this game. I'm not backing down though. Texas is winning this football game, brother. I'm sorry to tell you. I think that Texas's like biggest advantage coming into this game is that they are going to catch Georgia by surprise. I think that this Texas offense is has turned a corner and then coming off the bye week, I think this defense had a chance to get healthy. Now, granted, I don't trust it, but I just feel it in my gut that Texas is going to win this football game.
I have this game a little bit later. The best thing they've got going for them is the national media believing in that, and I'll give you a stat here that'll say why Texas is probably not going to win.
Okay.
Safari song. I've got UCF at Texas Tech because
Ooh,
this feels like a shaking babies and kissing hands game, sort of with all the lyrics. Ooh, mama, shaking hands.
I like it. I like
Uh,
it.
Red Raiders all day.
100%. I don't have this game anywhere, but definitely Red Raiders by a lot.
All right. Uh, what game is Cam Black Smoke Rising?
Oh, we got Pitt Notre Dame at Pitt for this one, man. That feels like a Black Smoke Rising game if I've ever seen it. Um, I think Notre Dame wins this game by a lot. I think the sneaky secret about this game is much like Navy with Blake. Again, I told you I couldn't get this out of my head. Much like Navy resting Blake Horvath, I don't think Pitt rests anyone, but I don't think they give Notre Dame their best shot because this game does not matter to Pitt. Pitt's not
No.
going to be an at-large team, but they can still win the ACC, get healthy for ACC play. Like I don't think we see anything remotely close to Pitt's best shot.
I've got this game coming up in a little bit and share similar sentiments. For Black Smoke Rising for me, I've got Iowa at USC.
Oh hell yeah.
Can you just imagine Lincoln Riley sitting in an ivory tower and seeing the black smoke rise, believing that, he's like, oh, it's the black smoke rising, like, yeah, we're going to the playoff. And in reality, he thinks it's like a coronation of like, it's actually a white smoke. So, um, USC stays, keeps the playoff dream alive for like another week. They move up in the rankings. I've got USC winning.
I have this game coming up very, very shortly. So if we'll go to the next song, we'll get my pick there.
When the curtain falls.
Yes, sir. I have Iowa USC. And, I like you said, Lincoln Riley could make a lot of mistakes in this game, and the curtain could fall in their season, but I think it falls on Iowa even more harshly. I think they fall out of the top 25 after this week. I think Iowa gave their best like last shot that they had last week, and now you've got to go on the road to Los Angeles. Like it's a really tough spot to be in, and I think USC's cooking a little bit right now.
I would tend to agree here. For when the curtain falls for me, I've got Oklahoma at Alabama. It's over for Oklahoma. Their playoff chances are done. Alabama's going to win.
Okay. Okay.
We're just disagreeing a lot here. All right, the
100%.
penultimate song, "The Edge of Darkness."
I got Boise State, San Diego State for this one.
Hell yeah!
I'm excited for this one. It's the edge of darkness because this game's going to be played at the ass crack of dawn because it's so late. I can't wait for it though. It's going to be a good football game. I think San Diego State wins though. I just don't think this Boise team has. I don't think they have the defense to necessarily stop what Sean Lewis is going to be able to throw at them.
I don't have this game, but I'm going to take San Diego State. I think they have an opportunity to get to and win the Mountain West and still maybe make the playoff. It's Boise State's not doing that.
No, 100%.
They got some really great losses though.
Hell yeah, we love that quality loss city.
Edge of Darkness. This is where I've got Texas at Georgia. Can you imagine Kirby Smart saying to his guys, "Every day is a new day"?
Can I imagine it, brother? I'm pretty sure he has said that.
This is the biggest reason why I'm obviously going to take Georgia because horns down forever. Growing up, I only hated two things, which was oppressive dictators and being added on Slack. And now I hate five things: oppressive dictators, being added on Slack, and wine, cheese, in Texas, and horns down. Um, I've looked at this. I'm like, I understand Texas is playing better. I look at their common opponents. They've played three common opponents with Georgia. They've played Florida, they played Ole Miss, and they've played Kentucky. Georgia beat Florida by 4 points. Texas lost by 8. Georgia beat Ole Miss. Georgia beat Mississippi State and Kentucky by 21 points. Texas beat Kentucky by 3 points and by 7 to Mississippi State. And Georgia could have beaten Florida by 11 points. I'm just kind of going on similar common opponents here there. And I understand that Texas had to play all these games on the road in overtime. Georgia is a much different team than that. I've kind of not really bought into Oklahoma very much this year, and I think it'll be a close game. I'm not going to like wager on this. Like I think Georgia probably wins like by like a score maybe, but I Arch Manning's not going to be ready for the bright lights of Sanford Stadium. I don't think.
So here's the one thing that really just keeps selling me on Texas is I think coming off the bye is very important for them in this game.
I think that does help. I have considered that too. I don't
And
know.
look, I'm picking Texas just because I have a feeling in my gut more than anything else. But like Georgia's a very good football team. If Texas loses this game, it would not surprise me.
Right. Um, but did you do Edge of Darkness for you?
Yeah, that was Boise, San Diego State. Yeah.
Yes, you did. Getting lost in the sauce. And then farewell for now. Okay, bye.
Uh, I understand that we got votes of confidence. I understand that we've got, administration that believes in Luke Fickell for reasons I can't understand. I think Indiana makes them reconsider that because I've got Wisconsin, Indiana, and it's farewell for now to Luke Fickell because Indiana might win this game by 60.
I think that that's a very real possibility. This is a major pullback game. Yeah, I don't have this anywhere. Indiana is going to skull drag Wisconsin.
I just wanted to mention how badly Indiana is going to be. That's the only reason I have this game mentioned is I wanted to say how bad they're going to lose this game.
Kurt's the guy who says, I have a lot of respect for Luke Fickell for being in there to take this L. He's like, he's not getting supported with all the quarterbacks. And I'm like, I think this is a lot of self-inflicted nonsense here. I want to agree with you, but like, nah, they're gonna keep him around for like a little bit longer. They're too late into the cycle.
You at least gotta with what I think this game is going to look like it's gotta make you think at least a little bit about it.
Was Indiana's gonna beat him like 57-8.
Yeah. Honestly, 8 might be generous, man. I if Wisconsin didn't score in this game, it would not surprise me.
No. And farewell for now. I've got Notre Dame at Pitt. This feels like a playoff elimination game.
Mhm.
And because Pat Narduzzi showed absolutely no effort saying this game was important at the podium, Notre Dame is going to flay them in a parking lot. It will be a Sheetz parking lot, and it will be the most disgusting thing you've seen in a Sheetz parking lot since what Pat McAfee and Tone Diggs and Nick Moraldo did in high school.
I could go for some Sheets right now. Sheets absolutely slaps, man.
Yeah, it's like from what I've understood is like it's basically like Western PA Quick Trip,
Yeah, it's like Quick Trip, Wawa, like it's all in the same vein. Yeah.
and after a while, I was more like racetrack, kind of, sort of,
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
whatever. Quick Trip saved my life a lot. And
Dude,
then
the QT, I miss the QT in Atlanta, that's for sure.
you have a what,
The Allsups, baby.
yeah.
It's effing terrible. It's so bad.
I heard that the burritos there are palatable.
It depends on which Allsups you go to.
It's a chevron. Yeah, Notre Dame's gonna win big time there.
Oh yeah, 100%. They're gonna end up at Pitt's gonna end up at an Allsups and they're not gonna know how it happened.
And I don't think Pat Narduzzi knows what an all subs is, but I do know that this was episode 226 of False Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle20. You can follow the show at CFP False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review at Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. Really helps the show out. That's how many wins LSU has.
Hell yeah, brother. Probably how many they're gonna end up with too.
I think that's how many losses North Carolina has. Like it's they're not. There's not much separating those two.
That's I would not say that's a feather in North Carolina's cap as much as I would say it's an indictment of Brian Kelly at LSU.
Brian Kelly, like just he has to know that like when he no longer is here in about 7 or 8 years that he's not going to be going to the good place.
I don't know, man. Some people have an ego that just doesn't stop driving, and Brian Kelly may well be one of those people.
Brian Kelly, like in the good place. Could you imagine him being in that? What do you think? What do you think his version of like altered heaven looks like?
Nothing I can say appropriate on the podcast if I'm being honest.
It's a Spuds McKinsey beer commercial.
No, it's a parking lot and he's making people valet cars.
You are my special because this is False Start.